Hi everyone, it's Danny.
And I'm Audrey.
You may recognize us from Emmanuel or from Camp Joy in past years. So in this video, we're going to teach you how to do something really fun. We're going to be planting succulent cuttings. So these have no roots, you can see. We just cut some of these from our gardens at home. And we're going to teach you how to plant them. And it's super easy and super fun. So the first step we have to do, we have these containers right here. You can use any container you want. If it has drainage in the bottom, that's great because succulents don't like to be sitting in water for very long. But even if like these don't really have drainage in the bottom of them, that's okay. You can just make sure you don't water it as much. So you can see kind of over here we have some examples of some containers you can use. There's a terracotta pot, there's some glass containers, some ceramic, pretty much anything you can use. Any container you have lying around the house, from your kitchen, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can use any kind of container. So we're gonna start off with some soil. Gonna add some soil to these containers we have here. This is some potting mix that you can use. And then Audrey has some soil from her house that's kind of sandy, and you just wanna make sure that you use something that drains well. So it can have some sand in it, whatever. What do you normally use for your...
I usually use about half sand and half potting mix.
Yeah.
I actually have a compost bin, so this is like dirt from my own compost bin and then just sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as just long as it has some sand in it is good because then it has good drainage. Potting mix is designed a similar way because it's meant for containers, so the water will drain through quickly. So I'm just gonna add some of this to this container. You can add some of your soil. And try not to make a mess. I'm gonna use my hand.
Gotta get dirty.
Yeah, it's okay. This is like part of the fun, right? You get your hands a little messy, get some dirt under your fingernails. It's great. And it's a good thing to keep in mind. You want to make sure you kind of like pack in the soil pretty good because when you water it, if the soil is kind of loose, then some of it will drain out and the soil level will drop a little bit. So you want to make sure that you kind of pack it in really tight there. I think that's pretty good for mine. I'll leave it like that. Clean up as we go. You got your leveling, great. And so then some of these succulents that we chose, you see some of these don't have any roots on them at all. They're cuttings. And then some of them we just pulled, they have like a little bit of roots, like this one you see. It doesn't really matter at all. You can use a combination, or you can use just rooted ones, or you can use just cuttings. Yeah, it's doesn't really matter. But you just want to make sure. Sometimes if you cut off some of these roots, it'll just make it a little bit easier to plant. You don't have to like dig a hole or anything like that. So that's something to keep in mind, right? Yeah. So we're just gonna start adding some of these. I like to have a little bit of stem because that way then you can just put anchor it down in the soil a little bit better. Yeah.
I have roots, so I have to dig a little holes.
Yeah.
For mine. But yeah.
It's good, you know, it's just, there's not too many roots on there, so it doesn't take very long at all. Also, one of the benefits of using cuttings is that because these are such small containers, since there's no roots on here, it'll help control the growth. So these succulents won't grow as fast, and then this arrangement will kind of stay looking the same for much longer. Grab this guy. See, I'm lazy, so I don't wanna deal with any of these roots, so I'm just gonna cut them off, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just gonna set this right down in the soil, just like that. Beautiful. And this is the part where it's totally up to you, so you can use different colors if you want. You can put some reds next to some greens. You have this like white gasteria, I think it is, and some red. It's a really good mix of colors. One of the fun things that you can do with some of these types of plants that have these really thick leaves is if you want to make this plant smaller, you can pop off some of these leaves just like that and make it a smaller plant. And then one of the cool things that you can do with these leaves is you can place them in soil just like I have down here. And you can add some water, and then right on these edges, right here, new little baby plants are gonna form. Isn't that so fun?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that before?
I have.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
cool.
so you can like, you have like a really big plant like this and you don't want a giant one. You can have a little tiny baby. I think I have a tiny one.
Like
Start
that.
a little baby succulent thing.
Yeah, so it'll probably be this size. Something like this will probably come off of these leaves. It'll probably take like a couple weeks, and then it'll be like a plant that size. So that's pretty cool. It's a fun little experiment. You can watch and kind of wait for them to grow. And you already have those leaves, so you might as well go for it, you know? I'm trying to think what else I want to add here. I'm trying to think.
Really going for different styles here.
I know. So see, this is
Going
the cool thing.
the clean and organized.
I know.
Danny's going for a jungle succulents.
So that's the fun thing about these succulent arrangements is I have two examples right here of one that I made with cuttings a couple weeks ago, and you can see how it's really tight and compact, and there's no soil showing really at all. And then this one you can see down here, the smaller little arrangement, we left a lot of space in it, so you can add some rocks on top, which is what we're gonna do next in a second. So just whichever way you want to do.
Yeah.
It's just totally your choice. Do you want to start adding stuff at the top? Do you want to? Yeah. So you can add pretty much anything you want to the top. See, we have some shells here. Audrey's adding some small little gravel, which is really cool.
Don't get gravel in your plants.
Yeah, we don't have it with us, but one of the things you can do is you can, if you get some rocks or some dirt in your plants, you can get a little brush, a little paintbrush, and use that to get some of the rocks off. Sometimes it's hard to get your fingers in some of these arrangements because they're so small.
You can add super fun things like marbles, shells you find at the beach, or you can buy. A lot of times when I go on hikes, I'll like pick up really cool rocks and I'll just put them in my plants.
That's awesome.
When did you first get into succulents, Danny?
Trying to think. I think maybe when I was like in high school, I think. Yeah, I kind of started collecting succulents, and the cool thing with succulents is that the more that you start to gather, like Audrey and I both, before we came here to the church, we got a bunch of succulents from our backyards and just cut little pieces because they grow so quickly and they multiply. And so once you have a ton of succulents in your backyard or wherever, then you can cut from all the different plants and create little arrangements like this, like we're making.
Keep building your collection.
Yeah.
They make really good gifts too. You want to like give your parents a present, a friend.
Yeah, totally. So I'm getting pretty close. I'm just gonna, I want this, just this little guy on top. So I'm gonna get rid of most of these leaves, and they can just grow new little babies. Just like that. Very neatly placed right there.
Do you have to water it at all when it's like this, Danny? Or they just grow on their own?
You can, but they don't need a ton of water because again, there's no roots yet.
Yeah.
But if you want to just like get like a spray bottle and just spray them every so often, and then once they develop roots, then you can start watering them a little bit more. Which is actually a really good segue to talk about these arrangements. Since most of these plants don't have roots in them, it's pretty good to wait to water them for a week or two. If they're outside, just keep them in the shade for a little while, and then after they start to develop roots, then you can start watering them and move them more to full sun, which is what succulents like, is pretty much full sun. Yeah, now we can show off. Are we finished with our arrangements?
Yeah, look.
We can show them off. See, two very different techniques. There's some beautiful, Audrey has some beautiful shells and marbles and rock top dressing, and mine's much more compact and there's not a lot of dirt showing. So that's the fun thing about succulents, is you can totally just do whatever you want, you know?
Super fun. It's just really creative.
Yeah, so definitely, if you have some succulents in your backyard, definitely take some cuttings and make an arrangement like this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.